Hey there, my gorgeous friends on the internet. I heard you loud and clear, and we're gonna continue the 3D train. You guys left an overwhelmingly positive interest in learning Blender and 3JS with Fiber and WebGL and all that jazz. So I'm so happy for that. So thank you so much. We're gonna continue. We're gonna create this awesome cell fracture effect where we can import any 3D model or create any 3D model and just fracture it and make it explode on scroll or on when you hold your mouse down on it. It's really cool. And it's super easy to do. So let's get into it. Thank you so much for the support. Drop a sub, drop a like. Okay, let's get cracking. I also want to note that all of these effects that you've seen in the previous tutorials as well are going to be in this GitHub page, Fiber Awesome Mix, I'm going to name it. So here's the explosion. This is the scroll animation that we did last time. I'm just going to keep making folders so you can just get the GitHub, see the example, copy, paste it, and do whatever. Okay, cool. Okay, so for this one, I'll just clear out my explosion folder quickly. And let's head over to our public, and I'll just get rid of this import. It's once you kind of do it, it's really easy to just, create your effects. So the first step we need to do is find the 3D model. Now we do want to show a little bit of Blender. I don't feel discouraged, oh no, I don't want to learn another software. Don't worry, I'll just show you how simple it is for this effect that we want to do. So you can get Blender at, you know where to get it, just Google Blender. Okay, so here we are in the scene. Now you're gonna be presented with this cube. I'll just quick start you through Blender here for a second. Middle mouse is rotation, scroll in, scroll out. You're gonna need a mouse for this, unfortunately. So scroll, okay, zoom in, zoom out, and then if you hold shift and the middle, you just need to hold shift and the middle mouse, you can pan around. Okay, so those are your 3 commands. And if you're lost in the scene somewhere like that, click on your cube here and then click the period on your keyboard, which is at your numpad besides the 0. And when you do that, it'll just go to your object like that. See, and then it's fine. Okay, so all we really need to do is maybe color this up and then apply the effect on it. So thankfully we don't really need to do much. Now for materials, you can go on the side panel here and apply a color. So we can do blue like that. If you don't see this, that's because we are on the viewport shading mode. So if you switch over to a material mode, then you can see the material. We'll select the cube. We'll hit tab, and that's gonna put us into edit mode. So here you can kind of select points and mess around with them like that, see? Or you can select faces as well, so I can move this out or extrude it. See, now I have another piece here that I can independently move. So that's like a pipe or something, I don't know. Okay, let's go back. So what we'll do in tab mode here is I'm gonna hit A to select everything, or you can just go like that. And then subdivide this a couple of times because we want our cell fracture to basically have enough data here to break this up. So then 2-3 times there, and then I'll hit tab out. We'll go to object mode and quick effects, and we'll just do cell fracture. The defaults are fine here, so you can just hit OK. Oh, there's one more thing actually here. See the mesh data here. You can add material on the inside as well. So if you have 1 here selected, 0, it'll just put the first material. But what we can do is actually create a new one if we want. So if I just make a new one here, let's do an intense blue color on the inside, okay? Something like that, or a teal. Okay, so again, let's go to object. We'll do quick effects, cell fracture, and now here for the material, I'll say 1, and that's gonna apply that teal. Look at that, how cool is that? Boof, done. There we go, we got our broken thing. Lovely. Now one more thing, see we have our initial cube still here, so I'll just get rid of that. The camera here as well, we don't need that, so we can delete that. And now everything else here, just grab, besides the light, can get rid of the light as well. So we just have all these cube cells. I'm going to select all of them, go up to object, rigid body, add active. And then when you hit space, boom, the cube falls. That's because it has a rigid body. It's affected by gravity. So as you can see, it's active. It has a mass that you can change as well on it. We'll leave everything the same here. One thing you can do is go to your actual world scene or world physics. Which is here in this little triangle tab that kind of looks like the pyramids. Okay, and then here, if you pop the, see you have gravity. If I change that to 0, it's not gonna fall. But this is still gonna be affected by like force and whatnot. So if I hit Shift A, or you can go here at the top, you can import a force field. You can try out the vortex. No, why not? Let's try the vortex. I've never tried this before. So we'll put it, yeah, like in the middle there. And then here, we'll just need to select this physics panel. Just increase the strength to like 100. And hit space. Maybe that's a bit too intense. Let's lower this. So there we go. So you can get different effects if you want. I don't think we're gonna use this one. Let's just do an explosion. So we'll do Shift A, force, like that. So there's our force field, and I'll just up the strength here to something like 50. And hit space, and look at that, move. Cool. Let's increase it to like 100. And we'll cut the time here. We'll just say 100 frames. That's all we really want to render out. You can customize this to anything you want, but that's, well, maybe even like 270, you know, 60. Make this shorter. There we go. Nice. So now that we have that, I just grab all the cube cells. So go to the last one there, all the way to the top. And here we'll go to Object, Rigid Body, and we'll hit Bake to Keyframes. And hit OK. So this is, so all the like animation that we've done with the physics, that's gonna save it all and like pre-render it in a way and just save it in the file for you, all the data that happened. So now when we import it, we can just trigger that animation on like click or hold. And this is what's really cool. If you know Blender and you know you add something, create something really impressive, you can just bake that and import it in your Next.js application. Cool, so there we go. Now, and then the browser, we can add spinning to this and whatnot and different effects. So from here on out, let's just export this. So we'll go File, Export. We'll do GLB2, GLTF. Let's name this Cube Explosion. I'll name it Brown because I have a couple here. So you want to make sure it's GLB here. If you have lights in the scene, you can add them using punctual lights and camera here if you open the Include To tab. But nothing really else we need to change in the animation here. Make sure you have shape keys animation and sampling animations on. And that should be it. Let's export that so we can head back to the browser. Okay, let's create a scene here. So we'll go to Explosion, create a new file and call this Cube Scene TSX. Okay, it's gonna have a use client at the top. And here we'll just export default function scene like that. So this is gonna take in the canvas. All right, you always want to render out the canvas from tree fiber. There we go. And here again, we can pass in anti-aliasing if we want. Believe it's, yeah, we have to pass in this GL, which makes a reference to the WebGL renderer. Anti-aliasing true. And one more thing is the DPR, we'll set that to 1.5. Okay, so it can go up to a bigger resolution. Here we're not returning anything, so let's make sure we return this canvas. And here, let's also add a little directional light like that. We'll put the intensity down and let's create the suspense so we can render out our cube. There we go. We'll just do a fallback of null. If you want to check out the previous episode, I'll show you how you can actually render out like the progress here as well. So we'll center this and we'll need the model here. So make a new file, call this cube.tsx. Okay, let's add use client to the top here as well. And here we'll say use gltf, we'll import this from THREE. And we are gonna reload that model. So let's import it from our file. So here we go, Cube Explosion Brown. Make sure you import it in your public folder. And then here we'll say /Cube Explosion Brown.glb. Before we finish up this cube, I just want to thank today's sponsor, Brilliant. I always advocated this on my channel that the best way of learning something is by doing, and that's why I really recommend Brilliant, because they offer thousands of bite-sized lessons that are interactive on machine learning, on math, algebra, you got physics, anything you want, it's there. You just gonna wanna do it. Yeah, I really recommend you this one on computer science. They have quite a couple of fun modules here on binary search, graph search, and implementing certain algorithms, so check that out. So thank you so much for Brilliant for sponsoring this episode. Check out the link in the description for a 20% off your annual subscription and a 30-day free trial. Thank you so much. Let's get back into it. Here we go. And here, what we'll return is a group. And here is where our primitive object is gonna be. So we'll render it out right here. Primitive. There we go. So to get that, all we'll need to do is use that gltf again, use gltf, and we'll pass down the same location. And now here we can extract the nodes, you can extract the animations, you can extract the scene, lots of different things. So that's really good. Now to hook up the animation, you can just use this use animation hook. I know, lots of hooks. Use animations here from THREE. And for that, you just need to pass down the animations and the scene there. And now here you have actually access to the action, the actual animation thing, you know, that you can trigger. Okay, so to pass down the primitive here, we'll say object, and we'll just need to pass down our scene from our GLB here. That should be enough to get this working. Let's import center there. That's just gonna center our model here, and import that cube and see if we can get anything rendered out. So back to our page here, we can copy this over this dynamic import because we'll need to just fully load this on the client. We'll say cube scene, and we'll also change the folder here. So we'll go to explosion, cube scene instead. So let's render out the cube scene, see what we got. I ended up loading up the blue box as just a material I added. That polygon texture wasn't working. So let's just keep it simple and just do the blue box instead. So this is all I did. So I just removed that texture. Yeah, I got all the cubes. I just went to materials here and added my own rather than this. So I think to actually get this working, you do need a little bit more of like hooking up like the roughness and the material on it and whatnot. So I'll have a look into that, you know, and you know, maybe like make an episode of getting realistic textures in the browser as well on like 3D models, so we can have a full episode on that. But let's just focus on this animation. So to actually like to make this animate now is quite easy if you do the scroll one. And you can check out the last episode for that. So from here on, you do the same thing as you did in the last episode, add a scroll and just animate it on scroll. But one way I found that it's quite easy, because it's quite hard to like do events where you like hold your mouse down and this animates and then it animates backwards as well. So what I found is actually using framer motion, use motion value works pretty good. So npm I framer motion like that. So that essentially allows you to interpolate and to smoothly go from one value to another. So in this case, it would be the time of our animation from 1 second to 2 seconds or however much we want. So I'll just install framer motion. Oops, npm run dev. There we go. And then we'll create this motion value inside the cube here. So let's go inside, import this use motion value. We'll set it to 0. So by default, this is not gonna have like an easing added to it. So that's where you can import in the spring instead. Well, not instead, you pass down that motion value in the spring. And then here you can also pass down a stiffness and a damping. So for the damping, let's do 1 stiffness, let's do 20, and we can experiment with this to see what kind of different effects we can get. But now we can use the use frame hook, which essentially runs every 60 frames per second or whatever your monitor's frame rate's at. And here we can extract the camera, we can extract the clock. So again, I've heard people do it with the mixer, which essentially like controls the whole like timeline of your animations, and you can like change the time scale there to revert it. Yeah, I'm curious if anyone can find a really cool solution here, but this is what I found that I thought would work really well. So the first thing we need to do is let's rotate this a bit. So let's add a ref, const group equals use ref. I'll set that to null by default, and you can pass down a generic to this to infer the type of it, which is just going to be a group type from THREE.js. We can pass down the ref now. So ref equals group, and now check this out. So here you can do something like this: group.current. We'll do the rotate y and just set that equal to, we can use this math utils actually from THREE.js, and it's just gonna do the math for you. So if you want to do a rotation degree, we can pass that down here. So if I want to do 0.2, hit save. Cool, so check this out. So now we can go on the group here, and you can actually add pointer events to this. So you can do on pointer down. All I'll do here is, again, this is like the simplest method I found. I found examples online of how people do this, and it's like fucking 20,000 lines of code, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to make an animation and then just spend a week on it. If I can do like something simple like this, then I'm down to business. So check this out. So all we can do here is say motion value, and we'll just set this motion val. Is that what they called it? Yeah. And we'll set it to a value here, like 1. And on pointer up, like that. What we can do is say motion val dot set. We'll set it back to 0. Make sure you run an arrow function here. There we go. All right, so now inside our use frame, check this out. We can map, so every little piece essentially holds an animation, right? So a little cell fracture is gonna hold the whole like movement to its final position. So what we can do, let me show you. So console log, if I just console log out this actions here, let's move this to the top here before our use frame. Okay. So let's check out what's going on. It's gonna render out so fast because I'm running it here. No, get out. But yeah, it's gonna be like 100 animations for each piece. So what you can do is loop through it with object keys like that, right? So you'll have access to each key here. So you pass down the actions, and then for each, you'll have your animation key. So here you can see actions.key.play, paused, true. Okay, so you want to like stop it from playing, and that's how you do it, like that. And then down here we'll set actions key time over to spring.get, like that, right? We want the time from our motion value. Oh, and if you want to get the types for this, I actually found it this time. You can do animation, what was it? Action, like that. There we go. So you can get the action, and then here you can just do action play like that. So now here when we go to the motion value, let's set something like 0.5. And when we hold it, as you can see, that's like the dampening effect, which is like crazy. So let's head back and change that. So damping here, let's just get rid of that damping, or 0.1. Let's see if that does it. So refresh this. Let's just try getting rid of this dampening for now. And there you go, that's much better. So now when we just hold, it won't have that crazy effect anymore. And there we go, that's the effect. If you want a stronger effect, feel free to customize it down here. So if we pop this up to 0.8, course you're gonna have a more intense effect. Now this needs to be hovered, right? So I'll put it to 0.4 now. See, if I'm hovered over it and I let go, it goes back, which is great. That's the effect we want, and it's really smooth too, so this works really well. But the one thing is we're putting the pointer event on the group here, so if we're not hovering over this anymore, it's not gonna go back like that. See, it stays open, but if we click once, it does go back, which is great. So the thing you can do here, I guess you could put a plane in the back, you know, that just covers the space on it, and that way it always triggers the animation. You know, you can still animate something else, but have that invisible there. So that would be pretty cool. But there we go, that's our cool little effect here. How nice is this? Feel free to import any other projects, any other models, whatnot. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I'm heading back to pushing out more of the course. Again, like, so excited for this year. I have so much in the plans, not only this course, but we're gonna rebuild all the courses, and I'm gonna start launching my platform soon, so I'm in the works with that as well, which is gonna be awesome. So thanks again for all the support, for all the love, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.